In 1964, children walked to school alone from age 5, building independence and confidence. Families spent entire days at the beach without a single rule telling them what to do. This was everyday life in 1960s Britain, a time of remarkable freedom that would be unthinkable today. Britain in the 1960s was a society built on trust, independence, and far less regulation than we have today. People made their own choices about risk, and children experienced freedoms that modern parents can barely imagine. Number 10. The motorbike. The 1960s Britain represented pure freedom. Young riders would accelerate through town centres and country lanes, wind rushing through their hair, nothing between them and the open road. Helmets existed, but wearing one was considered unnecessary, even embarrassing. The culture celebrated the raw, unprotected experience of riding. Leather jackets, yes. Helmets, no. That was the code. This was the era of mods and rockers, of cafe racer culture, of youth rebellion expressed through speed and style. The motorbike wasn't just transport, it was identity. And helmets would ruin the look, ruin the feeling, ruin everything that made riding meaningful. Many riders from that generation remember the exhilaration fondly, the absolute freedom of it, the sense of being truly alive, nothing between you and the world except skill and nerve. Compulsory helmet laws arrived in 1973. Riders were required to wear helmets on all roads, with fines for non-compliance. The regulations have since become stricter. Modern helmets must meet specific safety standards, and penalties for riding without one include fines up to £500 and license points. We've gained enormous safety benefits, but we've also lost something that generation valued deeply. Number 9. Childhood independence and responsibility. Children in the 1960s experienced extraordinary independence. From age 7 or 8, many walked to school alone, navigated their neighborhoods freely, and yes, stayed home without constant adult supervision. When parents went out for the evening, the oldest child would be in charge. This wasn't neglect, it was training. Children learned to solve problems, handle emergencies, care for younger siblings, and manage households. They developed confidence and capability that many modern children lack. People from that generation speak proudly of these experiences. They made their own meals, even just beans on toast. They resolved sibling disputes. They put themselves to bed. They became competent and self-reliant. Parents trusted their children because children rose to meet that trust. The community also played a role. Neighbors checked in informally. A child wasn't truly alone. They were part of a watching community. This approach built resilience and independence. Children learned that they were capable, that adults trusted them, and that they could handle responsibility. Modern laws reflect different priorities. The Children and Young Persons Act establishes that leaving young children alone constitutes potential neglect. We've gained important safety protections, but we've also created a generation that reaches adulthood without having developed basic independence skills. The question remains, have we protected children, or have we prevented them from growing up? Number 8. Real science and hands-on discovery. Chemistry sets in the 1960s were extraordinary educational tools. They contained actual chemicals, real acids, real reactive compounds that let children conduct genuine experiments. This wasn't dumbed-down science. This was the real thing. Thousands of future scientists, engineers, and researchers trace their passion back to these chemistry sets. They remember the thrill of creating actual chemical reactions, seeing real results, understanding that science was powerful and accessible. Playing with mercury from thermometers, rolling those silvery droplets across your palm was magical. Yes, it was toxic, but it was also fascinating. Children developed genuine curiosity about materials, chemistry, and physics through direct, hands-on experience. These experiences fostered scientific literacy and genuine excitement about discovery. Children learned through doing, not just reading or watching videos. They took risks, made mistakes, and learned from direct consequences. The trust placed in children was remarkable. Society believed that children could handle real materials, that they'd learn to be careful, that discovery required some element of risk. Today's regulations have removed these hazards entirely. Modern chemistry sets are safe but limited. We've protected children from harm, but we've also removed the sense of genuine discovery and real-world experimentation that inspired so many careers. We've gained safety. We've lost something about trust, capability, and the thrill of genuine scientific exploration. Number 7. Dogs living natural. Dogs in 1960s Britain had remarkable freedom. They'd roam neighborhoods, visiting favorite spots, greeting familiar people, and living semi-independent lives. This wasn't abandonment, it was a different philosophy of pet ownership. Many people remember these neighborhood dogs fondly. Every street had its characters. The terrier who visited the butcher daily, the collie who escorted children to school, the spaniel who'd join anyone's walk through the park. Dogs had social lives. They knew their territories, had canine friends, and exercised naturally through their wanderings. Owners believed this freedom was essential to a dog's well-being, that constant confinement was cruel. These dogs became community members. Everyone knew them. Children learned to interact with animals naturally. Dogs weren't isolated possessions but integrated parts of neighborhood life. The philosophy emphasized animal autonomy and natural behavior. Dogs weren't accessories or status symbols. They were creatures deserving freedom and agency. Modern laws require leads, identification tags, and constant supervision. Maximum fines reach £5,000 for roaming dogs. We've gained important safety measures and reduced accidents, but we've also created a world where dogs live far more restricted lives. The question remains interesting. Have we made dogs safer, or have we made them prisoners? Have we protected communities, or have we lost something valuable about human-animal relationships and neighborhood bonds? Number 6. Social freedom without constant surveillance. In 1960s Britain, having a pint or two at the pub before driving home wasn't considered reckless, it was normal social behavior. The pub was the center of social life. Business deals were conducted over drinks. Friends gathered every evening. Community bonds were formed. And yes, people drove home afterwards. There was no breathalyzer until 1967, no constant police monitoring, no cameras watching every junction. People were trusted to make their own judgments about their capability. Personal responsibility mattered more than state enforcement. Many people genuinely believed they could handle a few drinks and drive safely. Doctors sometimes recommended alcohol to steady the nerves before long drives. The culture emphasized personal freedom and individual judgment. The pub culture of that era created tight-knit communities. Social bonds were stronger. The local pub was where life happened. Celebrations, consolations, ordinary Tuesday evenings. Modern laws are strict for important reasons. Drink driving causes devastating harm. Automatic bans, £5,000 fines, and potential prison sentences have made roads significantly safer. But we've also lost something about social freedom, community gathering spaces, and trust in individual judgment. Modern Britain is safer but more isolated, more regulated, more surveilled. The trade-off has saved countless lives, but it's still a trade-off. Number 5. Lead paint on everything children touched. Walk into any 1960s British home and you'd find lead paint everywhere. Bright colors on bedroom walls, cheerful designs on wooden toys, cribs and high chairs coated in glossy finishes, window frames, door handles, radiators, all painted with lead-based products. Lead paint had genuine advantages. It dried beautifully smooth, created vibrant colors that didn't fade, and lasted for years without chipping. Manufacturers loved it. The parents loved it. The glossy finish on a child's toy train or wooden blocks looked professional and appealing. Children's furniture was particularly colorful. Nursery walls featured hand-painted murals in bold lead-based colors. Toy chests, rocking horses, and doll houses gleamed with thick, durable lead paint. Everything looked bright, cheerful, and permanent. The medical research eventually revealed the devastating impact. Even small amounts of lead exposure during critical development periods caused measurable cognitive damage. Removing lead paint from older homes requires specialist contractors following strict safety protocols. Simply painting over it isn't enough. Disturbing old lead paint releases toxic dust. We've gained crucial health protections. Children's cognitive development is safeguarded. Developmental disorders linked to lead exposure have decreased dramatically. But we've also lost the durability and vibrant colors that made 1960s homes and toys so visually appealing. Modern paints chip more easily, fade faster, and lack that glossy permanence. Number 4. Self-sufficiency and practical skills. Burning rubbish in the garden represented something important: household self-sufficiency. Families managed their own waste, didn't depend on council services for everything, and took practical responsibility for their property. The bonfire was also a social event. Neighbors gathered around. Children roasted potatoes in the embers. Families spent autumn evenings outdoors together. It was practical, social, and educational. Children learned about fire safety, responsibility, and household management. People took pride in managing their homes efficiently. The bonfire reduced waste, disposed of garden refuse, and provided heat. It was sustainable in a different way. No trucks collecting rubbish, no distant landfills, no complex waste management systems. Children learned practical skills: how to build and maintain a fire safely, how to manage household tasks, how to be useful and competent around the home. Today's environmental laws ban burning most materials, with fines reaching £50,000. We've gained important air quality protections and reduced toxic emissions. But we've also created complete dependence on municipal services, lost practical household skills, and removed opportunities for children to learn responsibility through real tasks. The balance is complex, and cleaner air matters enormously. So does self-sufficiency and practical capability. Number 3. Unfiltered entertainment and media freedom. Television in the 1960s was remarkably free. Cigarette companies, alcohol brands, and other products advertised openly during family programming. This wasn't seen as harmful. It was considered honest commerce and entertainment freedom. The adverts themselves were often creative and memorable. Cartoon characters, catchy jingles, clever slogans. People remember these adverts fondly. They were part of shared cultural experience. Everyone knew the songs, the characters, the catchphrases. There was something refreshing about the lack of constant health warnings and moral messaging. Adults were trusted to make their own decisions. Children would grow up and make informed choices. Society didn't feel the need to protect everyone from everything. The pub and smoking culture created social bonds. Pubs sponsored football teams and community events. Tobacco companies supported sports and arts. There was genuine community investment from these industries. Media freedom meant fewer restrictions on creative expression. Advertisers could be funny, provocative, even slightly risque without constant worry about offending someone or facing prosecution. Today's strict regulations, complete tobacco advertising bans, heavy alcohol restrictions, mandatory health warnings have important public health benefits. Smoking rates have plummeted. Health awareness has improved. But we've also created a highly regulated media environment where everything comes with warnings, restrictions, and limitations. Entertainment has become more sanitized, more controlled, less free. Different times, different values, different trade-offs. Number 2. Adventure and trusting strangers. Hitchhiking on motorways represented something that seems almost mythical now: genuine trust between strangers and the freedom to travel without money. Young people hitchhiked across Britain and Europe, meeting interesting people, hearing life stories, and experiencing generosity from complete strangers. Drivers enjoyed the company, hitchhikers saved money, and everyone participated in a culture of mutual help. University students traveled home for holidays by hitchhiking. Workers got to jobs without cars. Adventurers explored the country. It was democratic, eco-friendly before that concept existed, and genuinely social. People from that era remember meaningful conversations with drivers, unexpected kindnesses, and the thrill of adventure. One lift might take you 10 miles, the next might take you 200. You met people from completely different backgrounds and learned about lives unlike your own. The culture emphasized community, responsibility, and trust. Stopping for hitchhikers was considered socially responsible. Society functioned through mutual support rather than isolated individualism. Today, pedestrians are banned from motorways with £1,000 fines. Hitchhiking, whilst not illegal on regular roads, has essentially died. Nobody does it. Nobody picks up hitchhikers. Trust has evaporated. We've gained safety. The risks were real. but we've lost something about social trust, generosity between strangers, and adventure. Modern Britain is more isolated, more suspicious, more afraid. Both mattered. Number 1. Clear structures and defined roles. Strict gender separation in schools and public facilities reflected a society with clearly defined structures and expectations. Everyone knew the rules. Everyone understood their role. There was comfort in that clarity. Single-sex spaces created strong same-gender friendships and support networks. Boys formed tight bonds without competing for female attention. Girls developed confidence without male judgment. Many people credit these environments with creating lifelong friendships and strong gender-specific support systems. The separation also meant specialized education. Boys learned practical skills like metalwork and technical drawing. Girls mastered domestic science, cooking, and childcare. Everyone graduated with practical, applicable knowledge for their expected life paths. There was less confusion about identity and roles. Society had clear expectations, and meeting them provided satisfaction and social acceptance. Many people from that generation describe feeling secure in understanding exactly what was expected of them. Sports and physical education could be tailored specifically to each gender's needs and abilities. Competition happened within gender groups, reducing certain anxieties and pressures. Modern equality laws have transformed these spaces. The Equality Act 2010 ensures equal opportunities regardless of gender. We've gained important freedoms, reduced discrimination, and opened opportunities previously closed. 10 freedoms that existed in 60s Britain but are now restricted or illegal. The people who lived this way weren't reckless or irresponsible. They valued different things: freedom over safety, trust over protection, independence over security. We've gained enormously from modern regulations. Roads are safer, children are protected, the environment is cleaner, opportunities are more equal. But we've also lost things worth acknowledging. Community bonds, personal responsibility, real independence, trust between strangers, the thrill of genuine discovery and adventure. Progress isn't a simple story of improvement. It's a series of trade-offs. We choose what to prioritize. Every gain comes with a loss. The 1960s generation experienced freedoms we can barely imagine. They also faced risks we've largely eliminated. Neither approach was entirely right or wrong. Understanding what previous generations valued helps us recognize what we've traded away in exchange for what we've gained. And maybe, just maybe, it helps us think more carefully about what we're trading away right now for the future we're building, because our grandchildren will make videos about us too, and they'll wonder what we were thinking.